Hello and happy Friday. I'm Chris King with Intentionally Pampered, and I'm the owner and maker of behind Pampered Sisters Artisan Bath Products, and also the author of Disconnect to Reconnect, and soon to be released, Second Wind, a self-guided journal. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. And if you're returning, thank you. Mucho gracias. I am so happy you came back. Oh, this one's gonna be about reflections. I said some Fridays I'll do Flip It Friday, some I'll talk about business, some I'll do demos on making bath or some of my bath products, things like that, which throws the algorithm for YouTube and Google all over the place because they don't know where to put me. Well, I'll be glad when they figure it out. But anyway, tonight I want to share something with you. I want to get a little intimate. Don't worry, it's not gonna be personal, that kind of intimate. But I wanted to share something with you. And so I gotta give you a little background so you get it, okay? And it's not gonna be boring, I guarantee you. I promise you. And if it is boring, you can put it in the comments. No, don't put it in the comments. Please. Yeah, okay. Anyway, about a month ago, I stepped back into YouTube, sharing my demos, business lessons, and self reflections. When I returned, I told you I wanted to take this channel to a direction that I felt comfortable with, where I was headed. I wanted to be intentional, honest, and purposeful in my mind and in your mind. Okay. So I wanted to share real life experiences, business lessons, what's going on while I'm operating a business as a business owner, as a consultant, as an accounting professor, as a woman that's 63 years old. I wanted to talk to you about self reflections and how I deal with all of these things in the 360 of life at my age. Little did I know that sharing this journey with you was going to become more personal than I ever could imagine. See, I came back because I wanted to share, as I've told y'all early, I, I wrote a self guided journal for myself and decided to publish it for everyone else and how I got there. So I wanted to share that with you. And that's why I came back. So let me tell you what happened. For those of you that have followed me, and if you've gone back, you see I've gone up and down in size, okay, weight, okay? I've always been working on that. I had an issue earlier about 10 years ago, thyroid, thyroid problems, and it was thyroid cancer, so they removed my thyroids. I started exercising everything, and I still wasn't getting smaller in the midriff. And I've always had a small waistline, but it had gotten bigger and in the stomach and the pouch and all of that. And I didn't know what was going on. I found out I had fibroid tumors to the point that I had to have a full hysterectomy and ovarian ectomy. And so that was done. And it still didn't bring down the thyroid, and all of that didn't bring down my weight. So that I had a sleeve, and it started coming down. And also I had a gallbladder removed. So there was nothing down there, y'all. And anyway, I started doing well. I don't know. I caught COVID three or three times. Put it this way, the fourth time I caught COVID, and this is a couple of years back, it did me in because I don't have any thyroids. I have to take Synthroid, which is a medication replacement for thyroids. And I have hereditary high blood pressure, so I take that. I caught COVID for the fourth time. And that fourth time when I caught COVID, it threw all of the medication and everything, my system in whack. I started swelling up like the missional. My pressure was going up, my cholesterol, and I wasn't really eating anything. My thyroid was not working medicine. They were going up and down. I was very fatigued. I had to get a couple of B12 infusions, a couple of vitamin D infusions. Just a lot was going on. So, with doctor monitoring me, going back and forth to the doctor, changing my eating habits, really started walking more, eating better, trying to drink water. I'm still not there, but doing better. My weight started coming down. It became more stable. They got the thyroid medicine right. They got everything right. I started back on the narrow of losing and getting and maintaining where I'm at. This is where it gets tricky. About August last year, I noticed a lump on my right breast. It was like the size of maybe a pinball, and I didn't think anything of it because I get them under my arm all the time from walking and sweating and thing. I was thinking it was a bowl, but it was on my breast, so I didn't think nothing of it because I can barely feel A cup, so I just didn't think anything of it. And so I looked it up on web. My doctor's gotten on me, so y'all. I looked it up on Google Medical University, WebMD, YouTube, ChatGPT, you name it. I diagnosed myself. I says, oh, it's fibroid tumors. I had it in my uterus, so it's fibroid tumors. It runs in my family. We get other women get fibroid tumors in their breasts, and you live with it. I'm good. It doesn't hurt, so it's not cancer. Because they said if it's cancer, it hurts. It has a round shape and it's hard. I'm good. October, it got a little larger. And I told my daughter, I said, hey, I got this lump. And I showed it through my clothes. And she says, you need to go get that checked. So when I went in for my 90-day check for my medications, I told my doctor, and she scheduled me to have a mammogram. This was in October or November. And I said, okay. So I made the appointment for the mammogram. 2 days before my appointment, they called me and says, oh, Miss King, your appointment, we want to confirm your appointment. And when you come in, your appointment's $8.95. And I said, you telling me 2 days before my appointment and a day before Thanksgiving that my appointment on Friday is going to be $8.95? What does my insurance pay for? And she said, that is with insurance. But if you self-pay and don't use your insurance, it's going to be $350. I canceled the appointment because I can't see why I'm going to pay more with insurance than without insurance. I kind of forgot about it, but then it got a little larger over the holidays. So I reached out. If you're in Houston or the Houston area, you know about the Rose. I reached out to the Rose. It's an organization that does mammograms, and it's in the medical center. Because I had went to them once or twice before, and I scheduled a mammogram. I used my insurance. I went in, and they said, okay, so it's going to be $30. And I said, okay, because that was my insurance. I went and I had it done first of the year. Immediately after I did the appointment, I got called in by the Rose and by my doctor that I needed to go back and do a biopsy. I said, okay. So I went back, and it was $300, I think. So the total was $330, which I was okay with because that is what I should have been paying with my insurance or something anyway. I was expecting that, but not $8.95. Okay. Let me get off my soapbox so y'all can get this story. So I looked up what possibly could happen, what was wrong and everything. And while they were calling me back, and I went and did the biopsy, and then my doctor called me a week later. And the doctor said, no, the nurse called me, my nurse. And usually the doctor calls with results, okay, or they leave it on it. But the nurse called me, and I know the nurse because I've had this doctor from all of the other things in over 20 years. And she says, Miss King, it was Wednesday, and on a Wednesday. And she called, and she said, Miss King, doctor wants to see you Thursday. I says, I'm busy Thursday. And she says, okay, Friday at 11. I says, I'm busy Friday. She says, okay, I'll put you down for Monday at 9. I knew then because she gave me that voice, that stern voice. Okay, my doctor want to see me. And I was thinking, maybe my doctor's getting ready to go on vacation because she goes on vacation in June. And so she gets all of her regulars in to schedule all of their medications for the summer. And so that's what I was thinking. I didn't think nothing of it still because I don't check WebMD. I don't check Google University. I've checked everything and I just have fibroid tumors. Okay, I know this. So I went into the appointment. I was there early because I decided I would go to the appointment early because she's going to just tell me I have fibroid tumors and give me my prescription and I can go on about my business. That's what I was thinking. Whew. That was a Monday. I went in and I know my doctor because we go to church together. And so she goes to the late service. I go to the morning service. And so when she came in, we hugged each other, was caught up. I said how her grandchildren were doing, how her children were doing. She asked how mine were doing. Summer's coming. And I sat down. And when she pulled out this packet from my medical records, I no longer saw, at that moment, I didn't see my doctor plan because I have them so much respect for her. I saw my doctor, the MD. And she says, I want to show you something. And she starts drawing out everything. And she says, so here's a number. I need you to call this oncologist when you leave here. I said, okay, I'll give him, no, I'll give him a call between now and tomorrow. She said, no, you call them in the parking lot or you call them outside in the lobby. You call them and you schedule an appointment to be seen next week. I said, yes, ma'am. And she says, and if you can't get an appointment because nurses are gatekeepers and sometimes that's their job is to maintain the calendar for their doctor. You tell them that I said for you to call and to schedule an appointment. They know who I am. And she says, I'm going to text this doctor because she's a friend of mine. I said, okay. And I use her for my own family. I said, yes, ma'am. So I went home and I called and they says, we'll have someone call you because she's not, the scheduler is not here right now. I said, okay. So the next morning, which was Tuesday, I get a call 3 times. I get a call to schedule the appointment. I scheduled and I get 2 more times to schedule because I guess it kicked in. And then my doctor's office called making sure I scheduled the appointment. Okay. And I did. And I went the next week. It was for the next week. And I went in to the oncologist and the oncologist told me that I had a grade 3. And I says, is that a stage? She says, no, you need to go see a breast surgeon and this is who you need to see. And you need to see them if possible. She says, because when you first was seen, it was 2 centimeters. It's 4 centimeters now, but we caught it early. And in my head, I'm thinking, if y'all caught it early and it's curable, why are y'all rushing me? In my head, it's not registering. I'm still trying to process it. So anyway, I scheduled my appointment for the breast surgeon and I saw her yesterday. And that's why I'm late doing this video. Because usually I had a plan to do all of these, but I've been behind. And that's really honestly why I was behind on the Flip It Friday and losing some of the, when I was trying to put together that. It's because I just had a lot going on in the background. But I promised y'all I would show up and I need to show up and stay committed because it's just as important now more than anything because this is day 11. Okay. And I'm going to keep y'all along on this journey. I'll get back to that in a second. Let me finish this part. So I went to the breast cancer doctor and she was so nice and she drew a plan out and she said, okay, right now you're either a stage 2B or a stage 3. And if you're a 2B, then we will do surgery, then you'll have chemo, radiation, and then hormone blockers. She says, if you're stage 3, we have to shrink it first with chemo, then surgery, then radiation, then hormone blockers. She says, there is a little lymph node under your arm that's a little full on the right side, not like your left, which means your lymph node is doing its job. But we got to get in there and help it because your cancer tumor is the size of a golf ball now. And it's mad and it's aggressive and it's going to keep pushing till it gets out. So we need to move fast. And so that's where I'm at. And I was going to do this video last night and my phone has been ringing nonstop because between the scheduling of the appointment and the insurance and this being approved and that being approved and how much it's going to cost and no, you can't do this. This is a lot. But I'm going to share this with you because let me tell you something. Being intentional about pampering yourself is one thing. Being intentional about pampering yourself is part of your health too. And I'm telling you, I'm speaking to me because if this was my child, if this was my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, without a doubt, and y'all know, Or am I the only one? We take care of everybody else. When it was our children, we can take off a week. And like when my kids were school age, I never was able to maintain enough sick time. I had to use my sick time and vacation time because they were always sick and I would take off at the drop of a dime. I have sick time rolling over because I go in to work with pneumonia, bronchitis. One time I went in with whooping cough and they sent me home. And then I went to the doctor and said, don't go back to work. And they made sure I didn't go back to work because they called us in a disease control. Yeah, they don't do that on whooping cough. And they told me, oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I dropped my papers because y'all know I have papers. Sorry about that. They know that they probably knew I would go back to work. Anyway, what I'm saying is I can find excuses and put off taking care of myself. And I'm telling you, this is important, y'all. Don't wait till October or a cause to go get yourself checked. If you got to get your eyes checked, your feet checked, your breasts checked, your nose, your ears, your head, whatever you need to do, make an appointment. If you've been thinking about making an appointment, you owe it to yourself, okay? We pour into so many of our loved ones and we don't pour into ourselves. Maybe you do. I don't. I'm doing better because one of the things that all four of the doctors I saw told me, had I had not started taking care of myself and maintaining and working on my weight and my health, I would not have found this cancer in time. They says cancer loves women that are obese, are women that loves fat cells and sugar. That's exactly what the last one said, the cancer. She says, and it hides behind that. But because I'm barely can feel a cup, the golf ball is bigger than one side. I'm kind of lopsided right now. It was noticeable. It doesn't hurt. And I found it. Okay. So I know there's a God because everything happens for a reason. Just like I'm sharing with y'all, I came back to share journaling and self reflection and taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. Didn't know that this was one of the things I will be sharing. I'm going to invite y'all and share y'all my walk with this. I know that God has me. And if you have to turn me off because I said that, I get that. But I know that God has me and He is in control. I know that whatever is going to happen, He's got me. If one person on watching this makes an appointment, then I did what I was supposed to do. And I'm just saying, you owe it to yourself to be good to yourself. So take care of yourself. At the end of the day, it's not how you live. If you want a quality of life, it's not what you do, it's how you do it and when you do it. And part of it is taking care of yourself. I need to be a better example of taking care of myself so my daughter knows that she needs to do the same. That other women that see me know that they need to do the same. Because if we want to give that pour into others and continue to be around, we have to pour into ourselves and be intentional about it. So right now, that's where I'm at. I am listening to the doctors. I've been told to stay off of Google USMD University. And my last doctor told me that as soon as she started the appointment with me, she says, okay, what have you learned on the internet? And I told her, I know it's fibroid tumors, blah, blah, blah. And she quickly shot it down and she says, you are correct. It is. It could be fibroid tumors, but you're 62 years old and we don't get fibroid tumors at 62 years old. You should have came in. Stop diagnosing yourself. Okay? I said, yes, ma'am. My other doctor already told me that, my primary doctor. So I'm not gonna lie, I did go home and load up all of my diagnoses to see what it said. And it said the same thing, but I'm not gonna do it no more. I promise I'm not gonna do it no more. So after everything is done, insurance has come a long way. I've been told that they caught it. They're moving forward. I'll get reconstruction surgery. first they got to make sure it doesn't come back and make sure that they caught everything. Thank God it doesn't run in my family. It's not hereditary breast cancer. Thank God that I had caught it in time. Thank God that I've had my reproductive system. That plays a part too. If you still have your reproductive system and you get cancer, there's chances to come back and all that. I'm thanking God for all of the things that could make it worse. So I want to just say that this does not have to be your story. You can go get you a checkup and everything's great. And if it is, then do it again the next year and the year after that. And whatever they do find, do what the doctor says, okay? And don't self-diagnose yourself unless of course you are MD, and sometimes doctors make the worst patients too. But do it. If you don't do it for nobody else, do it for the loved ones that you pour into, because you want to be around to continue to pour into them. And I'm going to share with you this journey. In my first book, Disconnect to Reconnect, there is a chapter I talk about putting on your mask first before you help others, just like in the airplane. And this is me now putting on my mask first. In my journaling, I talk about how it is so important that we take care of ourselves physically, because if you don't take care of yourself physically, it starts to do things to you mentally. And if your mental gets out of whack and your physical is out of whack, then the whole that you have to take, it's just the whole structure is out of whack. And you're no good to no one that way. At least I know I'm not. And so I'm dialing it back a little on some of the things I do, but on other things, I'm going to dial it up, because this is important. Not just because I found out I have breast cancer and everything. It's just important that I know how precious my health is, and I'm going to treat it that way. And I'm going to be a little selfish about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if I need to take a time off, I will do it, because I'm just as important to myself. So I'm going to pour into myself like I pour into others. Sometimes pouring into yourself is the best way you can teach others. Just practicing what you preach, practicing what you teach. And that speaks volumes to the walk that you walk. So walk the walk and talk the talk. I hope that nothing you get, if you don't get anything else out of this talk today, okay? And I'm talking to you as a sister, as a friend, as another woman that sees you for who you are. I'm talking to you and saying, if you don't do anything else, take a self evaluation, or you don't have to, of yourself, and see, is there anything that I need to do, or physically go make a doctor's appointment? And if you have made a doctor's appointment and you are doing all of that, kudos to you. But I'm sure there's someone else in your life. If you are that person that does all of those things, there is someone in your life that maybe you can give them a gentle nudge and a hug. My doctor, she should have fired me a long time ago as a patient, but she gave me a gentle hug, because in the very beginning, anybody that knew me 20 years ago will tell you, I didn't believe in going to doctors, because I believe when you went to a doctor, this is honest God truth, y'all. I believe that I used to believe that when you went to a doctor, and if a doctor told you that you have, I'm just going to make something up, you have a twitch, okay? Your mind hears that and starts twitching. It didn't do it before. This is what I used to believe, that your mind gets the message like, oh, I got a twitch, and it'll start twitching. Or, oh, I got walking pneumonia. I'm gonna start acting like it. I used to believe that. I really did. So I believe if I didn't know it, I can keep going and I would heal myself. But over the years, I had to have physicals for something, one thing or another. And when I found this doctor, she went to church. I went for a physical. And from that point, she would call me, her staff would call me once a year and say, come in for your wellness checkup. Now, this is the other thing. Some people aren't fortunate enough to have insurance, and some have insurance and never use it. I am that person. I've always been blessed enough to have insurance because I always found it when I had found a job, it was one that offered insurance and I would get it. And I cannot tell you the years that goes by that I use the insurance. I never used the insurance unless it was for an emergency. All those years, never really used the insurance unless it was for emergency. I would get the insurance so I would get the discount for the children's insurance when my kids were little and everything. But I never used it for myself. And that's sad. If you have insurance and you're not even getting your wellness checkup, if you're not getting your annual physical, do that if you can. Don't waste it. Because some of us aren't blessed to do that and to get that. And if you don't have insurance, there are so many places you can go and get an annual wellness checkup that you don't have to pay for. And yes, there are. And if if you're not sure, just look on your website for your state and city and say wellness checkup, and you'll find it. But what I'm saying is, don't let a minute go by without checking in with yourself before you check in with others, because we as women are so precious and we play a very important role in so many people's lives. And it's a loss when we lose one flower this world. And I don't know about you. I want to be around. And I don't think I'm being selfish in saying that. I want to see my grandchildren grow up. I want to see, even though things are the way they are, I still want to be here. So I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight hard as I go on this journey. And look, I'm going to end here. Whatever you do, be intentional about what you do and take care of yourself, ladies. I'll have an awesome and blessed weekend. Bye.